Welcome to The Bridge, From Surviving to Thriving in Medical School, a medical student podcast on success and belonging at UCSF. My name is Eric Hung, and I'm a faculty member at the University of California School of Medicine and the Associate Dean for Students in the medical school. Thanks for listening in. It has been such an honor to have worked on this podcast series over the past year. I want to thank our incredible UCSF School of Medicine podcast production team who made this series possible. Our team members are Do-Quinn Tran-Taylor, the director of the Student Experience Team, Denise Davis, our faculty director for student support, Lucy Ogbunoburo, our faculty director for the post-baccalaureate program, Alvin Guanga, a second-year medical student who is now a third-year medical student with us, Nakai Corral, a second-year psychiatry resident, Richard No, a fourth-year medical student, Alice Hua, the assistant director of the medical student well-being program, and Valerie Jones, our student experience team operations manager and the production manager for this podcast series. For this closing episode, I am so grateful to be joined by one of our team members on the production team, Richard No. Richard has been active behind the scenes in identifying topics based on medical student feedback, designing episodes, editing transcripts, and listening to a lot of audio drafts. Richard, thank you so much for your reflections today, and I'm really excited to have you a part of this closing episode and to hear what this process has meant for you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So to start, Richard, I'm so curious, what is one thing that you would like the listeners to know about you, and what is a role in the School of Medicine that gives you joy?
Yeah, I'd love to introduce myself. My name is Richard No, he, him pronouns, fourth-year med student here at UCSF now. I was born and raised here in San Francisco. My dad was a Vietnam War veteran, and my parents are refugees from Vietnam without a formal education. I'm a non-traditional med student, and I'm the oldest one in my class. Before starting here, I studied dance and biology in college. Then I went to dental school, trained for a bit as an oral maxillofacial surgery resident, before making a career transition to pursue med school and ultimately critical care medicine is the next step for me. So I'm very excited to be here. I really enjoy being here at UCSF, and there are so many roles that give me joy here, so it's hard to choose just one. But I think that a common thread is that I really enjoy being with people and bringing them together to create spaces where people feel free to be themselves. And so with the student body, I've had the honor to be involved with ASSM with you, Dihung. As a Vietnamese American, I'm part of the Asian American community with the PAMSA and VAMSA. I also identify as gay, so I'm part of the beautiful community in Pride Mid at UCSF. And lastly, I'm also part of the first generation low income, as well as the underrepresented medicine communities with Denise Davis. And really grateful to be part of all these communities that have supported me and gotten me through med school so far.
Wow, that's amazing. I so deeply appreciate all of the parts of yourself that you share with us. I remember so clearly the first time that we were chatting in my office together and just how excited you were about medical school and all of the different things that you wanted to learn. And I love how you shared earlier that you were in residency for just a bit before starting medical school. You have been on a path, Richard, and I am just so glad that you're on this path right now and just so impressed with everything that you are giving to our community here at UCSF.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like the community has given me so much, and I've learned so much from so many leaders in our community and members of our community, and also from you too. So thank you so much for guiding and mentoring me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So I'm really curious, which guest story resonated most with your journey and why? And how has hearing about these stories throughout this series shifted the way that you'll handle either issues or setbacks or challenges in the future?
It's honestly been such a pleasure listening to all the stories and wisdom from this podcast, from all the different episodes, and also working on it behind the scenes. It's been a lot of fun. And I've learned so much just listening to each person. But something that really stuck with me was I was really shocked to hear someone as established and successful in our community as Denise was thinking about leaving medicine at one point. And I really appreciated her vulnerability. That really struck a chord with me because it related to some of the things that I struggled with in my own journey. And so on that note, the idea of being courageous to be vulnerable, I would love to share a personal story that I haven't shared with many people.
Yeah, would you be open to sharing that with us?
Yeah, would love to. So I was in a very dark place at the time and very scared to ask for help. It was a very cold, dark, and snowy day in Boston after finals for my third year in dental school a few years back. And at the time, my parents were facing a lot of issues related to housing instability, their mental and physical health. And so I spent a lot of time on the phone, filling out paperwork, coordinating appointments, and I was supporting them any way that I could across the country. And I was also struggling with my own mental health because of aspects related to my gay identity. And I was dealing with the demands of school, with imposter syndrome, like many episodes I've talked about. And I was struggling with feeling like I didn't belong where I was because of my first gen socioeconomic background. And what made the time so difficult was that not only was I actively experiencing extensive mistreatment by a faculty member at my school, but I was also brought in by my course director who told me that I had barely failed a final exam. And so this resulted in me taking a leave of absence from school. You can imagine how horrible I felt during that time. I didn't really know what I was going to do or what was going to happen to me. In the moment, I felt extremely worried about finances because I depended on financial support from my school. And at that time in my life, I actually really struggled to be vulnerable. So I didn't tell anyone. I wasn't connected to therapy at the time, maybe because it wasn't something that I believed in or that I was familiar with growing up. I felt scared about being judged by my friends and my classmates. I thought that they would think less of me. I was worried about being a burden to them, that was bothering them because they are already also so stressed as well. So I disappeared into myself. I stopped reaching out to my friends. I stopped spending time really with anyone. And so it felt really difficult to get myself out of bed each day, and I felt completely alone. I'm really proud of how much I've learned and grown since then. After a lot of reflection, I worked hard to seek out and build a community around myself that I feel comfortable being vulnerable with. And I'm grateful to be on a career path that feels more authentic to me and my calling. And after going through that difficult time and hearing from so many amazing guests on this podcast, and also from listening to people in our community like you that tell us students that nobody gets through it alone, has really solidified this lesson for me. And so nowadays, when I'm in a tough spot, one of the first things that I do is I don't hesitate to reach out to my therapist, to one of my close friends, or to a trusted mentor. I find more often than not, whenever I share my struggle, they actually tell me that they've been there too, or that they're feeling the same way, even though I had no idea that they were also feeling that way too, because then they seem like they have everything together. And after talking about it, it feels like the weight on my shoulders is cut in half, even though nothing has really changed. I just reached out and shared some of my feelings. And that has allowed me to get through things more easily. And so that's why I will always be there for others in a heartbeat. And I hope that our listeners will do the same too for their communities. Over the years, I realized that pretty much everyone in our field struggles with some feelings of self-doubt at times because medicine is really hard. Learning a never-ending amount of information is not easy. Being responsible for other people's lives is incredibly difficult. Even some of my friends who seem like they're the most on top of things, as I've gotten to know them, I realize that behind the scenes, they're also struggling with some other aspect of their lives too, if it's not their careers. And I have come to realize that perfection is impossible. So instead, I try to focus on growing and progressing, and I focus on trying to do that with and alongside my community.
Wow. Well, Richard, thank you for sharing so much of yourself right now. I can feel the emotion. And I'm struck by how the role modeling of people in this podcast, like Denise Davis and others, have allowed you to share your story. And by you sharing your story, that will allow others who are listening to connect and to share their stories with someone else. So thank you for being a part of not only this episode, but also so much a part behind the scenes of so many of these episodes in this podcast.
Thanks for listening and for allowing me to be part of this community. I'm really happy to be here.
Another question that I have for you, Richard, is what impact do you think that this podcast will have on our listeners in the future of medical education?
Listening to this podcast reminds me how powerful community is, how every story that we share and every time that we listen to one another really lifts all of us up, and that we all belong here. I hope that the person that's listening to this right now, I hope that you are kind to yourself just as much as you are to other people. I hope that you strengthen the communities that you're a part of wherever you are. I hope that you understand and feel your inherent worth, that you deserve the space to show up authentically and be yourself, explore and pursue your passions, make mistakes, grow, and make your dreams a reality. And like Denise and Alice have both said, you don't need to earn the right to be here or to be loved for who you are or to be respected without mistreatment, because we are all inherently worthy and we all deserve these things. I want you to remember that you're more than just a medical student or a physician. There are so many parts of our identity that make us us. So you're also a friend, a family member, and a member of your community.
It's only fair for me to ask the same question that we've asked each of our guests in the episodes. What might our listeners do to foster belonging for others here at UCSF?
I think that truly fostering belonging comes from a place of empathy and compassion. I think about how we're all humans, we're all imperfect, we're more similar than we are different, and that we all want connection, belonging, and love. And I think that after listening to this podcast, I really believe in these things even more than I already did. Our journey comes in seasons. Sometimes we're going to feel like we're on top of the world and that we have everything under control. And sometimes everything feels like it's falling apart and we're not doing anything right, no matter how hard we try. And the beauty is that as part of these communities, we can lean on each other when we're struggling. And that the reality is everyone needs help sometimes. So if someone that you know seems a little different than usual and you haven't heard from them in a while, or they seem kind of sad, please reach out. It goes such a long way. We help others feel like they belong by being the first to be vulnerable so that others can feel safe to do it too. Being proactive is how we create belonging.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for being a part of this episode and also all of the episodes in this series on medical student success. For those that are winding down with us, thank you for listening in. If you haven't listened to any of the episodes, please listen to them. And we really look forward to having you be a part of the stories here at UCSF. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to The Bridge, and please look for more episodes in our series. The Bridge is brought to you by the UCSF Academy of Medical Educators Innovations for Funding in Education program. Our hosts are Alvin Glanga and Dr. Nakai Corral. Our production staff are Dr. Eric Hung and Valerie Jones. Our sound engineer is John Oliver. Our music is by Duke Q, Wax Roof, Mabanwa, and Les Imprimes, courtesy of Big Crown Records.